This is sections of medulla oblongata. We study medulla oblongata under three headings: at the level of pyramidal decussation, at the level of sensory decussation. Okay, if you see what is the first level, which is closer to our spinal cord, that is at the level of pyramidal decussation, at the lower level of medulla. Little above we have sensory decussation, and higher above to the medulla we have something called olive. So at the level of olive it is called as. Okay, so these are the three sections. As you are seeing, this is the lower part of medulla. It will be more resembling to that of spinal cord. Okay, so what are the structures you see in this section? You just see that this is the gray matter, just like spinal cord, and what you're seeing around is the white matter. Okay, so within the gray matter, this is a central canal, just like spinal cord. Okay, so the first nucleus, what you're seeing very close to the midline, this is the midline. The first nucleus what you are seeing is called as nucleus gracilis, G, nucleus gracilis. And just next to it we have something called nucleus cuneatus. Nucleus gracilis, nucleus cuneatus. Nucleus gracilis carry proprioception from the lower limb, and nucleus cuneatus carry proprioception, okay, from the upper limb. Cuneate, you remember cloud, hands in the cloud. Gracilis, you remember lower limb, walk with grace. Okay. Now, just the above to that, the white matter what you are seeing will be nothing but the fasciculus. What is this? Fasciculus gracilis, and just above to this you will have fasciculus cuneatus. Okay, something like this demarcating. Fine. Fine. So this is also fasciculus gracilis, fasciculus cuneatus. Fine. Now what are you seeing? Can you see this another bulge here? The three fingers like. Okay. The third finger what you are seeing is spinal nucleus of trigeminal. Exactly here we will have spinal nucleus of trigeminal and the spinal tract of trigeminal. Spinal tract of trigeminal. Okay. The fifth cranial nerve undalla, fifth cranial nuclei adinte nucleus ana. Okay, spinal nucleus of trigeminal. The same thing you'll see this side. I'll be only drawing one side. Okay, and in the white matter, the lateral, this is all posterior fasciculus. In the lateral fasciculus, what are the tracts you have? Mainly you will have here two tracts. What are these tracts? They are nothing but ventral and dorsal spinocerebellar. Spinocerebellar. It's going to the cerebellum, right? Spinocerebellar. So ventral spinocerebellar tract and dorsal spinocerebellar tract. You will also have the reticular fibers here on the either side, which will be running throughout the length of brainstem. Okay. Now what is very important? What is the heading saying here? Pyramidal decussation. You need to understand what do you mean by pyramidal decussation. Here we have the main person of this area, this section, that is our, what tract is this? Lateral corticospinal tract. Corticospinal is what will form pyramid thereafter. Yeah, this is at the lower level, right? So lateral corticospinal tract. At this level, that is at the lower level of medulla oblongata, these two lateral corticospinal tracts will decussate. Can you see your fibers? So these are the lateral corticospinal tracts. Now these lateral corticospinal tracts will decussate. Can you see? At this level only they will decussate like this. Okay. When they are decussating, they are literally cutting off this portion of the gray matter outside. Okay. So this is only the decussation of pyramidal level of pyramidal decussation. This is all you need to know here. So can we quick recall? This is similar to that of spinal cord. Here what we are having is a central canal. If this is the midline and posteromedian and anteromedian fissure, on the either side you will have a nucleus and the fasciculus. Nucleus gracilis, nucleus fasciculus gracilis. Nucleus cuneatus, fasciculus cuneatus. At the third finger what you are seeing is spinal trigeminal, spinal nucleus of trigeminal. It's a nucleus. This is a gray matter, isn't it? Just outside to that you will have the tract, spinal tract of trigeminal. On the lateral aspect, you remember three bulb. Okay, what are the three? You have ventral and dorsal spinocerebellar tracts, And the medial of that, the huge, this is a hero here, okay, that is only lateral corticospinal tract, which will decussate, like this. So now when you're seeing in the next level, that is at the level of sensory decussation, you need to understand what do you mean by sensory decussation. Okay, for which what we will do, I'll make you understand what is continuing thereafter. I'll tell you the same thing. The spinocerebellar will be there only. By the time you will not see the lateral spinal tract, because by that time it has become what? It has become pyramid here. Can you see that? These are pyramids. Pyramid. Here, this is a lower of all. We are ascending above. The pyramid will be there same here also at the higher level. Pyramid. Okay. So what are you seeing? This portion has been cut like this. Cut like this by who? I'll tell you. The entire 3 finger has become now a round. How exactly? I'll tell you. Because of these decussations. What is it? You remember this was the nucleus. What is this? Gracile nucleus, cuneate nucleus. Gracile nucleus, cuneate nucleus. Now what is happening? That is what is a sensory decussation. Now the second order neuron from these nucleus, what they will do? They will decussate like this. They will decussate to the opposite side like this. Lower limb fibers will be more anterior, upper limb fibers will be more posterior, to form a structure called as, what is this structure? This is only our medial lemniscus. What is this? Medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus. So this is what you have understood about sensory decussation. First, the gracile tubercle and the cuneate nucleus will send their first order neuron to the fibers, and they will ascend up and they will become the nucleus at the higher level. Now these fibers, the second order from these nucleus again will decussate at a higher level of medulla to become what? Medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus. This medial lemniscus is what is decussating. That is why it's called a sensory decussation. What do you mean by sensory? Because they are nothing but the sensory tract. Sensory tract. So medial lemniscus will be carrying what fibers? They'll be carrying proprioception, okay, and also our proprioception, and also the discriminative touch. Discriminative touch will be carried by these medial lemniscus. So this is what you will be seeing. The rest everything is same. Only this is what you need to remember. So what are the other things what you have here? You have here reticular fibers. Yeah, you have these two tracks. That is all you need to remember here. One more thing what I would like to tell you is, this is the gray matter, right? Gray matter. So certain nucleus you see around the gray matter here. What is it? Within the gray matter, in the midline you have very important nucleus. This is only nucleus of 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal nucleus. Very close to it you will have the vagal nucleus, that is called as dorsal nucleus of vagus. Okay. Further behind to that you will have one more nucleus, that is called as nucleus of tractus solitarius. So what is it? First what do we have? We have hypoglossal nucleus in the midline, closer to the midline. Very next to it what do we have? We have dorsal nucleus of vagus. Further lateral to that what do we have? We have nucleus of tractus solitarius. What is this carrying? Nucleus of tractus solitarius. It carries taste sensation from the entire tongue, isn't it? Fine. So the same thing. Further when we extend higher above, there is something called at the level of olive. What do you mean by olive? We have this is the bulge for olive. You remember medulla external feature, midline we had pyramid, laterally we had one more bulge called as olive. You remember? That is what. Now this bulge is formed by what nucleus? That is what is at the level of olive. This is olivary nucleus, something like a crumbled bag appearance. Can you see that? This is principal olivary nucleus. Also you have something called dorsal and ventral accessory olivary nucleus. So because of appearance of this olivary nucleus, we call it as at the level of olive. Also, now what is happening to these nucleus which was in the center? Now they are pushed towards the floor of fourth ventricle. By this time it is becoming the open part of medulla, isn't it? So where are the nucleus? I will be using the same color for making you understand. In the midline what do we have? We have hypoglossal nucleus. Yeah. Further lateral to that what do we have? We have What is this nucleus? Dorsal nucleus of vagus, red color. Further about to that, what do we have? We have nucleus tractus solitarius. Okay, the same thing goes here this side. I am not continuing there. Also, we have one very vague nucleus called as nucleus ambiguous. Nucleus ambiguous. This is nucleus ambiguous. Nucleus ambiguous. So you need to remember what are the nucleus which is present at the level of medulla. You need to understand this. Last 4 cranial nerve nuclei is what is there. What are the last 4 cranial nerve nuclei? 9th cranial nerve, 10th cranial nerve, 11th cranial nerve and 12th cranial nerve. So 12th cranial nerve is what you are seeing here. What is this? This is only nucleus of hypoglossal, isn't it? They will emerge like this. Nucleus of hypoglossal will be emerging like this, leaving what? Hypoglossal nerve. Hypoglossal nerve. Okay, this is how the hypoglossal nerve will come out from the hypoglossal nucleus. Now what do you have? That completes what? 12th cranial nerve is over. Yeah. Now what about 9th, 10th, 11th? They have a combined action. That is, they take origin from, see here, dorsal nucleus of vagus, nucleus ambiguous and tractus solitarius. Together it will come out like this. You remember on the either side, that is between the pyramid and olive, we had rootlets of 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerve coming out. That is what you are seeing here. What are they? They take the nucleus from the nucleus ambiguous. Is a motor nucleus. Okay guys, motor nucleus for all these cranial nerve. Yeah. Then we have dorsal nucleus of vagus and nucleus tractus solitarius. Okay. So all these will be coming out as it is, as a rootlet, 9th, 10th, 11th. So this is it. This is all you need to remember. Again, we will see something extra here. I'll tell you what is it. What is this structure here? What are you seeing here? You will be seeing something called, this is only connecting stalk to cerebellum. So what is this? This is only inferior cerebellar peduncle. Inferior cerebellar peduncle. Okay, very close to inferior cerebellar peduncle, you will start seeing one more nucleus, which is more in the pons. Yeah, I agree, but still you will be start seeing certain nucleus like that is called as vestibular nucleus. Vestibular nucleus. This is what? Vestibular nucleus. Okay, vestibular nucleus belongs to which cranial nerve? That is 8th cranial nerve. But you will see this better in the pons, but still again you will have starting to see vestibular nucleus. Okay, so floor of fourth ventricle, you start thinking you had a hypoglossal triangle, you had a vagal triangle, you had a vestibular triangle. You remember that is why it is called so, because we have the aforesaid nucleus under these triangles. Okay, along with this, in the midline, what do we have? You remember medial lemniscus here? I'll be using the same color, medial lemniscus. You remember the same thing, you will be seeing something like this, medial lemniscus on the either side. Medial lemniscus. Also, you have two more structures which will start appearing here. This is called as medial longitudinal fasciculus. Medial longitudinal fasciculus. What is this doing? This is actually, interconnecting the nucleus of 3rd, 4th, 6th and the 11th cranial nerve. What is it? These fibers will be interconnecting the motor nucleus of 3rd, 4th, 6th and 11th cranial nuclei with 8th nuclei. There is an auditory response. We need to move our eyeball with these nuclei and we need to move our neck with that of 11th cranial nerve. That is the function of medial longitudinal fasciculus. That is it. Again the reticular fibers, everything, and you need to duplicate the same here. That is it. Okay, so these are the sections of pons. Okay, we have two levels, two sections at the lower level and upper level. Lower level is at the level of facial colliculus. Facial colliculus. What do you mean by that? Upper level is, this is open part of the pons, which is literally to the open to that of floor of fourth ventricle. Here it is a closed part, literally the lateral, the fourth ventricle is what is being within this cavity. Can you see that? So this portion which is forming the roof of the fourth ventricle is called as superior medullary velum. Okay, so what have you understood? Lower part of the pons is open to that of fourth ventricle. Upper part of pons is closed. So the fourth ventricle is literally enclosed within the pons and it is covered by white matter. That portion is called as superior medullary velum. Okay. Now, both the part of the pons are of two types, two parts. What are the two parts? I'll tell you. Both the sections are of same. That is, this portion, the ventral portion of it is called as basilar part. Basilar part. Basilar. And this portion is called as tectum. Tegmentum, sorry. Tegmentum. Okay. Again, this is basilar part and this is tegmentum. Is that okay? Basilar part for both lower level of pons and upper level of pons is the same. You need to understand what is the feature in the basilar part. That is what we will be going to talk about right now. Okay. So what is it? We had pyramid there down, right? Pyramid in medulla. The same pyramid will extend up. You all know pyramid is carrying what fibers? Corticospinal fibers. Now these corticospinal fibers will extend up through the basilar part. Okay, through the basilar part. So what you will be seeing here, lot of fibers, lot of huge bundles of fibers. Okay, within the basilar part you will see the same thing you will be seeing here also. The same goes this side. I'm not drawing there. Okay, now what are these fibers? They are of three variants. What is it? I'll tell you. One I told you is corticospinal fibers, plus it will also have corticopontofibers, that is going and relaying in some nuclei within the pons. That nuclei is called as pontine nuclei. Pontine nuclei. Okay, pontine nuclei. So what is it called as? Corticopontine fibers. Also we have something called corticobulbar. Bulbar as in motor nucleus of cranial nerve. So it will go and relay in different levels of the brainstem. So what are the three fibers present in basilar part? We have corticospinal in majority, we have corticopontine and corticobulbar. The same thing you will be seeing here. Now this corticopontine you need to understand, from the cerebral cortex, these fibers will relay here. These fibers will relay into the pontine nucleus and they will traverse to the opposite side of the cerebellum. They will traverse to the opposite side of the cerebellum through which peduncle? You all know pons is connected to cerebellum via which peduncle? So what is this peduncle? What is this peduncle? That would be our middle cerebellar peduncle. Middle cerebellar peduncle. The same thing you will be seeing here also. This is what? This bulge is what? Middle cerebellar peduncle. So in the basilar part, what all do you see? You will see vertical fibers which is of three variant: corticospinal, corticopontine, corticobulbar. And along with this, you also have certain nucleus in the middle, that is these are called as pontine nucleus. Pontine nucleus. From the pontine, corticopontine will carry to the cerebellum of the opposite side via which peduncle? Middle cerebellar peduncle. So you will also see so many transversely running fibers on the either side. You understand? Okay. So what do we have in this tegmentum part, which differs both in lower level and upper level? Now that is what we are going to see now. Okay. In the tegmental part, you need to understand what are the cranial nerve nuclei present in the level of pons. Okay. In the medulla we had lower four. Here we have fifth cranial nerve nuclei at the upper level, and at the lower level we have fifth കഴിഞ്ഞോ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് വേറെന്താ ഉള്ളതെടാ വേറെ ഉള്ളത് ഇതാ ഇവിടെ സിക്സ്ത് ഉണ്ട് സെവൻത്ത് ഉണ്ട് അല്ലേ പിന്നെ എയ്ത്തൊട്ടുള്ള ഇതെന്തേക്കും ഈ ഭാഗം ഇവിടാണ് എയ്ത്ത് വെസ്റ്റിബുലാർ ന്യൂക്ലിയസ് ആൻഡ് വി ഹാവ് ടു കോക്ലിയർ ന്യൂക്ലിയസ് ഇതെന്താണ് ഇത് വെസ്റ്റിബുലാർ ന്യൂക്ലിയസ് ആണ് ഇത് കോക്ലിയർ രണ്ട് കോക്ലിയർ ഉണ്ട് ഇവിടെ നമ്മുടെ അടുത്ത് ഇങ്ങനൊരു പിടങ്കിൾ ഉണ്ട് ദിസ് ഇസ് ഓൺലി ഇൻഫീരിയർ സെറബെല്ലാർ പിടങ്കിൾ I hope you can see that. On the either side of inferior cerebellar peduncle, we have two cochlear nucleus. We have ventral cochlear nucleus and dorsal cochlear nucleus. And what is this huge nucleus called as vestibular nucleus? So these three components are for what? Which cranial nerve? 8th cranial nerve. So 6th, 7th, 8th and 5th is here in the upper level. So you understand. Now what do you mean by it's also called as facial colliculus? What have you understood about it? That this, what is this nuclei? This was the motor nuclei of seventh cranial nerve. They actually take a turn like this around abducens nucleus and come out like this. So this turn, this sharp turn, what is being taken by the seventh cranial nerve is called as internal genu. Internal genu. That will produce a bulge in the floor of fourth ventricle. I told you, to form a bulge. This bulge is only called as facial colliculus. Is that okay? Now apart from it, you also have, so this forms the nuclei. So all these are the nuclei. Now leaving this, you remember medial lemniscus which was there in the medulla, that will continue further up to form something here. See here, like a nose. Nose. Three bulges it will form. Nose. Nasal cavity, like that you remember. What is this? This is MTR. MTR. What is MTR? I'll tell you. That is medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal, rubrospinal. Rubrospinal. Also, we have a body here. What is that body? That is only this. These cochlear nuclei will leave out the fibers, right? They will decussate here to form a large body, which is literally like a triangular in shape, literally like a mouth of the Joker. That is called as trapezoid body. What is it called? Trapezoid body. Trapezoid bodies are the fibers decussating from which nuclei? Cochlear nucleus. Trapezoid body. And about to that we have something, four lemnisci will be having. What are the four lemnisci? You will be seeing medial lemniscus, okay, M, T, S, L. How to remember this? This is my mouth speaks loud. That is, this is what? Medial lemniscus. What is the other? My mouth speaks loud. Medial lemniscus. Okay. Then we have spinal lemniscus. This is what? Lateral lemniscus. My mouth, sorry, my tongue. So this is trigeminal lemniscus. That's what I'm thinking. What am I missing? So medial lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, spinal lemniscus, and lateral lemniscus you will see on the either side. So this is all the features here. So how do you remember? In this tegmental part of the lower level, you have MTR. Just below to that you have a mouth, that is trapezoid body. MTRT, that is trapezoid body. What is trapezoid body? Fibers crossing from the cochlear nucleus. Just above to that, like a mustache, you remember, that is my tongue speaks loud. My is medial lemniscus, yeah, tongue is trigeminal lemniscus, S is spinal lemniscus, and L is lateral lemniscus. Okay, the same thing you will see here also. Here is very easy. The same thing. Trapezoid body will become smaller. I'll use the same color. Trapezoid body will start becoming smaller as it goes higher above. Okay, the same thing you'll see. My mouth speaks loud. My tongue speaks loud. Sorry, and again you will have MTR. That is it, pons is over. But only thing what you need to remember is, what is the cranial nerve nuclei you will be seeing here? You will be seeing here fifth cranial nerve nuclei. So the fifth cranial nerve will emerge like this. It is having a large sensory component and a motor component. So this is the fifth cranial nerve. That is trigeminal nerve. So in the pons, what are the cranial nerve nuclei you have? You have fifth at the higher level. Then you have sixth, 7, and all together forms the 8th cranial nerve nuclei. Okay, what you're seeing is section of midbrain. So the first, what you're seeing is literally like a Bermuda shape. Can you see that? Like a, Bermuda. This is also like a Bermuda shape. Leg, yeah, this is the buttocks zone. Okay, just remember something like that. So what is this first thing? That is at the level of, one second, at the level of inferior colliculus. Before going to midbrain, you need to understand. You remember medulla was having nuclei of last 4 cranial nerve. Similar pons had the next 4 cranial nerve. Then this is having only the cranial nerve of 3rd and 4th nuclei. Cranial nerve nuclei of which all cranial nerve? 3rd and 4th. Okay. Okay, we'll go into section of midbrain. Okay, so I have already written that you can see the outline of midbrain, literally like a Bermuda. Okay, kale bhagam. Okay, buttocks zone, all that. You remember something like that. Okay, so what you're seeing here, yeah, midbrain എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ you need to understand that it will have, we learn midbrain under two sections. That is at the level of inferior colliculus, and this would be at the level of superior colliculus. Superior colliculus. Okay. Before going to that, you need to understand like how medulla oblongata had last four cranial nerve nuclei and pons had the next four cranial nerve nuclei. Similar, in midbrain we have third and fourth cranial nerve nuclei. Okay. So inferior nu parnale, that will have what? Obviously below one is what? The next portion is fourth cranial nerve nuclei. So we are going to draw that. So here in the midbrain, common thing I'll tell you. This one is the common. What is this? I'll tell you. This opening what you're seeing, is cerebral aqueduct. Cerebral aqueduct. You remember aqueduct of Sylvius? That is what we are seeing both the areas. If you draw and around the cerebral aqueduct, this is periaqueductal gray matter. That means there will be so many nuclei here in this zone, isn't it? What is this? This is periaqueductal. Means around the aqueduct, this is called the gray matter. Gray matter means you have understood by now that it is group of nuclei alone which will form the gray matter, isn't it? Now, if you draw an imaginary line across the cerebral aqueduct, you can divide the midbrain into two. What is this? This is called as tectum, and this one would be tegmentum. Tegmentum. Okay, so now we are first going into at the level of inferior colliculus. What is your back in your mind? That at the level of inferior colliculus, which cranial nerve nuclei you will find? You will find fourth cranial nerve nuclei. Okay, fourth cranial nerve nuclei. Fine. So before, let us see what are the features in the tectum portion of inferior and superior colliculus. You will have here inferior colliculus. At this zone, you will have superior colliculus. What is this? This is only inferior colliculus. This is superior colliculus. Okay. Okay. Now what else? When you have drawn the periaqueductal gray matter, which cranial nerve nuclei you will have? You will have fourth cranial nerve nuclei. So I'll use a color for that. You will have fourth cranial nerve nuclei here. Always you need to remember, fourth cranial nerve nuclei always takes a dorsal course. Every cranial nuclei leaves out ventrally, right? This cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve nuclei takes a dorsal course. It decusates within the midbrain and it leaves outside. I hope you can see that. If not very well, then I'm sorry, I don't have much of material at home. I'm at home right now. Okay, anyways. So this is the which cranial nerve? That is fourth cranial, that is trochlear nerve. So that is all the periaqueductal gray matter will have. Apart from that, what are the other features at the level of inferior colliculus? You remember pons? We were just discussing about it. We had what all? Lemnisci. You remember? What was it? My tongue speaks loud. Loud is this lateral lemniscus. My is it? Medial lemniscus. Tongue is trigeminal lemniscus. Speaks is spinal lemniscus. Okay. Lateral lemniscus, you need to understand. What is lateral lemniscus? I'll tell you here. You remember back in pons I told you we have this trapezoid body. Where is this trapezoid body coming from? Trapezoid body is nothing but the decusated fibers from the cochlear nucleus. Okay, the trapezoid body will ascend above. Yeah, when it reaches to the midbrain, yeah, it ascends above. The trapezoid body ascends above. When it reaches to the pons only, it will form a lemnisci called as lateral lemnisci. So the trapezoid body ascending above as a fasciculus to form lateral lemnisci. The lateral lemnisci will be entering into inferior colliculus. Can you see? It is literally entering into inferior colliculus. Inferior colliculus, you need to understand. So, trapezoid body is collecting second order neuron from which pathway? Auditory pathway. So, inferior colliculus will be going into where? Will be ending, literally the fibers will be entering from the inferior colliculus to, okay, what is that called as? Inferior colliculus will be going to medial geniculate body. So, medial geniculate body is where these fibers will be going and terminating. From the medial geniculate body, the auditory reflexes and all will be going to the thalamus, and there it will go to the higher center. You know where is the auditory area and all that, right? So that is what you need to know about inferior colliculus. Okay, now what else you need to know? Here in this zone, in the middle zone, what do you have? Just like how we had in pons, we will have M, that is medial longitudinal fasciculus. Medial longitudinal fasciculus. Okay. Okay, and you remember T and R, M, T, R, we were saying T will decussate, R will also decussate. This is called as ventral decussation. This will call as dorsal tegmental decussation. Ventral tegmental decussation, and this will form dorsal tegmental decussation. This is ventral and this is dorsal. So this is the decussation of what? T, that is tectospinal, and what was the R? That is rubrospinal. So these are the portions what you will see here also similarly, literally similar to that. Yeah, just that this decussation you won't see hereafter in the superior, the level of superior colliculus, but you will definitely see M, that is medial longitudinal fasciculus. Yeah, medial longitudinal fasciculus. Also you will have one decussation, very large decussation. This is decussation of what, you know guys? Of superior cerebellar peduncle. Of what? Superior cerebellar peduncle. Only one decussation. At the inferior colliculus, you have two decussations. Is that okay? Now, what else you need to understand? This zone. This zone. What is this zone? I'll tell you. Now, from the tectum, this part, the lower, the leg part, Bermudian leg part, I'll tell you, is literally separated by a saucer-shaped structure. What is this? I'll tell you. Literally, it will be dark in its color. What is that? That is only, which is there both the areas, both the level we have the saucer shaped structure. What is this which is taking dark color? That because it's dark color, it is called as substantia nigra. Substantia nigra, which is there in both the levels. What is substantia nigra doing? It is literally carrying, yeah, dopamine to that of, you know, corpus striatum. You remember all that? Carrying dopamine. Yeah, substantia nigra. Now, this zone, the lower portion, is called as, only this part is called as crus cerebri. Crus cerebri. You remember interpeduncular fossa will be somewhere here. Crus cerebri. Crus cerebri is literally divided into two areas like this. You all know crus cerebri is nothing but the downward extension of internal capsule, or it is an upward extension of the corticospinal tract, right? Pyramid, basilar part of the pons, and further it will go in the midbrain as crus cerebri. So what is this lateral component carrying fibers of which corticopontine? It is parietal lobe, right? Parieto-pontine. Parieto-pontine fibers will be located in this zone, yeah, vertically. And here what do we have? We have from the frontal lobe, fronto-pontine fibers will be carried in this zone. Here in the middle we have very important fibers, that is corticospinal, spinal plus occipito-pontine. What you need to remember is, you remember at the level of pyramid, I told you pyramid and the basilar part of pons. Basilar part of pons, you remember so many nucleus I told you, that is pontine nucleus. So from the cortex it is going to the pontine nucleus to form corticopontine fibers. You remember that corticopontine from the different part of the cortex will go to parietal lobe, will go via the lateral aspect, that is parieto-pontine. Medially that will be frontopontine, and then middle that will be occipito-pontine. Along with occipito-pontine we have corticospinal tract also, descending down from the middle zone. So that's the same you have to draw here also. That's the same. Is that okay? Here also you will have what at the higher level you will have my tongue speaks, that's all. Loud you will not see because loud has already entered into what? It has entered into inferior colliculus. I'll talk little about superior colliculus. Superior colliculus fibers are from where actually it is from where the auditory, this is auditory, right guys? Inferior colliculus, this is actually our visual area. Yeah, visual pathway is what is being carried through superior colliculus. That will go and relay these visual fibers, that is optic nerve, optic tract, you remember all that. That from the superior colliculus it will be going into what? Which geniculate body? Lateral geniculate body. Lateral geniculate body. Yeah. So what about this zone? What was this? Periaqueductal gray matter. Here at the lower level we had cranial nerve nuclei of what? Fourth, right? Here at the upper level you will have what, guys? Third. Third, oculomotor nucleus. I'll use only for that different color. This is oculomotor nucleus. Also, you have a smaller component just behind to that, that is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Edinger-Westphal nucleus, which will be carrying what? Parasympathetic fibers to which ganglion? You remember ciliary ganglion. Edinger-Westphal nucleus. You have what here? Oculomotor nucleus and Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Yeah. So the oculomotor nerve, from these two, it will be carrying fibers and literally it will be emerging like this. Literally it will be emerging like this. Can you see that? I'm sorry, I'm holding the mobile and doing this, so all this. Yeah, literally it will be coursing like this. The fibers of the oculomotor nerve will be coursing like this, very close to cerebral peduncle. Crus cerebri rather, we can also call that. Yeah, fine. So what else you can see? When it is going, so there is a very important nuclei here at this level. I can only draw it here. I'll use a different color, that is called as red nucleus. At this level we have something called red nucleus. Red nucleus. That's why I'm using this color, red nucleus. You will see this very prominently at which level? Superior colliculus. Superior red nucleus. Why it is appearing to be red in color, guys? Because it is said to be highly vascular and high content of iron is there in the form of ferritin. So it is said to be appearing red in color. Okay, but you will not see that in cadaver because of formalin and all that color changes, but this is red nucleus. Yeah, red nucleus. Please do read about red nucleus. It's a 4 marker for you all. Yeah. Now what else? So you have understood oculomotor nerve coming out, red nucleus being different from that of this. Yeah. And superior colliculus going to lateral geniculate body. All that you have understood. That is it. There's one more component which I would like to tell you. There is something called pretectal nucleus. Pretectal nucleus here. Pretectal. The tectum allada. Appo idin endha paraye? Ee nucleus nanda paraye nammal pretectal. 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 This nuclei, this set of nuclei, you know what is it carrying? It is carrying fibers to what? Which reflects. It actually forms a component of which reflects, you know, light reflex. This will form pupillary light reflex in the pupillary light reflex in a pathway that will go and end in pretectal nucleus. You remember PP, pupillary light reflex, pretectal nucleus. Is that okay? So this completes it. Quick recall on the midbrain. What are you seeing? Midbrain is having 2 sections, that is at the level of inferior colliculus and superior colliculus. Inferior colliculus will have nuclei of which cranial nerve? 4th. Superior colliculus will have nuclei of which one? 3rd. So inferior colliculus, you can see that in the cerebral aqueduct on the either side, on surrounding to cerebral aqueduct, what do you have? You have something called periaqueductal gray matter. So in that gray matter we have nuclei of which cranial nerve? 4th. It takes a dorsal course. It decusates within the midbrain and goes out dorsally. Yeah. So the entire midbrain is divided into 2. If you draw an imaginary line across the periaqueduct, this portion, small portion is tectum and this is tegmentum. Tectum, here we will have inferior colliculus which will be ending in medial geniculate body. Here we will have superior colliculus which will be ending in lateral geniculate body. Okay. Differences are periaqueductal grey matter has 4th cranial nerve nuclei here and periaqueductal grey matter has 3rd cranial nerve nuclei. Along with 3rd cranial nerve nuclei, we will have something called Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Just behind to that, we have one more nuclear component that is called as pretectal nucleus, which has fibers coming from which reflex, pathway of which reflex it forms pupillary light reflex. At the level of inferior colliculus, we'll have my tongue speaks loud, yeah. But at this level, you will not see loud, that is lateral lemnisci, because already at this level, inferior colliculus, lateral lemnisci would have entered inside. Lateral lemnisci is nothing but upward continuation of which body? Trapezoid body. Understood? Superior colliculus is said to be very famous question for everybody. It's not that this won't come, but I'm telling you because of this one reason, that is called as red nucleus. Red nucleus. This is substantia nigra and crus cerebri divided into 3 components. That's it. I hope this came out well. I'm not actually prepared to it, but still I thought I'll help you on this. Anyways, you good luck. Please, when you listen to this, you please practice the diagram. Okay, medulla, it will look like a Mickey Mouse. Okay, its outline is literally like a Mickey Mouse. Yeah. In the pons, it is literally like, somebody lying in lithotomy position sort of at the lower level. Okay. Okay. Upper level also something like a face only. But here in the midbrain, we usually say it's like a Bermuda. Okay, fine. All the best.